Salam alaikum, sisters and brothers. Suleiman Rahim here, messenger of the covenant, breaker of the seven seals. Sisters and brothers, the light. What is the light? The light. We're going to talk about the light. If we're going to understand what the light is, how important it is. And we're going to go back 50,000 years, back a little to our history. 50,000 years ago, there was no darkness on the planet. The whole planet was lit up with light, bright light. It was lit up. The Creator recognized His creation. The Creator was in control of His creation. It was bright light everywhere. There was no confusion. It was nothing but mathematics. It was beautiful. 50,000 years ago. And then the darkness began to set in, which we refer to as the time of energy deprivation. That's where the confusion started with the darkness. Because then there was disagreement. And it's very difficult to have disagreement among mathematicians. But there was disagreement. That was the first sign of darkness. Because Dr. Shabazz saw the darkness coming and he consulted with other scientists, and there was disagreement that increased the darkness. But how to deal with it? A time of energy deprivation, a time of intense darkness, increasing darkness, great darkness, unprecedented darkness. It wasn't something that could be avoided. I mean, we had some people said, "Well, let's go off planet," because the planets were there. We already had completed the planets. We have completed our creation. 76 trillion years of work. We put the stars out there, the planets, the moons, and they're all habitable. They're all ready to be habitable. That's why the Quran says a garden as wide as the heavens and the earth has already been prepared. Some even had that idea. Let's move off planet to avoid energy, the time of energy deprivation. The problem with that is that if they return 50,000 years later, they'd be so weak that they wouldn't have any power here on earth. But they would avoid energy deprivation. I don't know if any did that or not. I'm not got that deep into knowledge. Some may have done that. They may have went off planet to avoid energy deprivation because no one wanted to deal with that. No one wanted to deal with that. You even had some say, "I told you so," because you remember that the fiery angels, how they was destroyed because they was trying to avoid, right, the expansion that they knew it would end in energy deprivation. I told you so. I told you so. See, now here we are. So the darkness set in. And darkness got greater and greater and greater until 15,000 years later, the darkness was so complete, there was virtually no light anywhere. The truth of the creation was lost. The connection between the Creator and the creation was lost. The mathematics of the creation was lost. Only very few individuals had possession of any of that knowledge. And that was the very elect. That's the scientists. Very few had any recollection of that. But the rest of the population had no knowledge, was totally lost. So people in search of light created their own light, which is called religion. Try to explain their existence, try to explain the creation, try to explain what was going on around them. That's how religion came about. There's no mathematics involved. It's just philosophy, trying to explain, trying to understand what's going on. Trying to see, in other words, religion was like a man, a blind man with a cane walking through the darkness, trying to feel his way around. Everybody was reduced to that. Everybody was blind. And they was walking with their canes, trying to understand, trying to figure out their way through the darkness. That's what religion was. It was and is. See, it was not a light, but it was a cane to help you feel the way you see light. It spells darkness so you can see where you're going. But if you don't have that, then you need some kind of cane or something, right? So you can feel your way through. And that's what religion was, to feel their way through the darkness. So 35 years ago was so bad, right? That one form of religion came into existence. The first one was Buddhism. And the energy deprivation is 15,000 years into it at that point. So it's getting pretty bad. And as a result of that energy deprivation, that means you also have problems because you can't develop properly. You don't have enough energy to develop properly. And this refers to the womb also. So then you have children that come forth deformed. Then you had some people, they thought, I mean, they never seen anything like that before. And they was into religion and philosophies. So they accepted that as part, as a sign. And they started worshiping these people. That's why you see, like in Hinduism, people with 3 and 4 arms, and like Shiva has 6 arms and carrying on, because they started worshiping these people. They thought they were special. So about 35,000 years, the darkness was very intense. There's very little light in the world, and it was diffused among very few people. And then we get down to 6,000 years ago, and it's like intense darkness. Nothing, you couldn't see anything. You could even barely feel your way around with a cane. It was very dark. So we decided to personify the darkness. At least we could feel it. See? Because it's just dark. See? Like I try to explain, if you're in the wintertime, you have snow, sleet, hail, that kind of stuff. But if you personify it, that means in the snow are people, and the hail are people, right? And the cold are people, right? See? So now, right, you can possibly avoid, because hey, here comes hail, here comes snow. See, because now you know these people, you can feel them. You can actually see them. That's what we mean by we personify things. So we personify the darkness, and that's what we call the devils. They're the personification of the darkness. That's how bad it became. 6,000 years ago, we had Dr. Yakub. He personified the darkness. That's the devils. See? But that's all they do. I mean, they're all about darkness, 100%. There's no redemption there. See, other people are blind. That means they possibly could see again. But these were totally darkness. They can be nothing but darkness. They couldn't see a light if they want to. Light would destroy them because darkness is their light. They thrive in the darkness, like some animals, right? They live and thrive in the darkness. They thrive in the darkness because darkness for them is light. That's Dr. Yakub's creation. By that time, the light was almost extinguished. Remember I said it got dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. Only a few scientists had it. And it was getting dimmer and dimmer all the time. So they fast forward to 1877, or just prior to that, around the mid 1800s, and we see this scientist, Dr. Master Muhammad's father, When Elijah Muhammad said, called him Alfonso, the Bible has a different name and it's similar. And I'm not going to try to repeat it because I'm trying to say that name. It's Alfarius or something to that, some to that effect. But it's pretty close to Alfonso. Excuse me. So he had a spark, but it wasn't the light. So what he did was he went around to all the scientists because their lights had very dim, but it was spread around the scientists, and he had a little few watts of light, bit like that. So what he did is he went and purchased at great expense, purchased all the little watts of light that they had to create a bright light. A little light, but it was bright. And he personified that light in his son, Master Farah Muhammad. He became that light, that little bright light, the God, the made God, my Father, especially prepared with the devil's body so he would not suffer energy deprivation. Because see, the devils did not suffer energy deprivation because they didn't require as much energy to maintain themselves as we did. That's what was a energy deprivation problem. We did not have enough energy to maintain ourselves. So we was like a Lamborghini. They was like a Volkswagen Beetle. They didn't need much energy, very little energy to maintain themselves, and there was enough for that. So therefore, they wasn't suffering energy deprivation. They was able to build civilization and anything they wanted to do because they had plenty of energy. We did not have enough energy to maintain the civilization, to maintain ourselves or anything. But they did because they didn't suffer energy deprivation. And by giving Master Muhammad their body type, he wouldn't suffer energy deprivation either. So he'd be very powerful. So he was the embodiment of that light that his father put together. He put all those dim, low wattage lights that all the scientists had put together and created a bright light. It was a small, bright, but it was a piercing light. It was a bright light, but it was small, right? Like a candle in the dark, but it was right. It was bright. But it was small. And then he used that light to illuminate his way around the world, looking for us, looking for us to honor the Abrahamic covenant, his brothers and sisters, which he called his aunts and uncles. So he used that light to go illuminate his way around because the world's in intense darkness now. He's the only real light. He's the only real light that his father put together. He's the only real light in a world that's total darkness, except for a little dim wattage here and there amongst the scientists. But he's a bright light, a small bright light, right? Near total darkness, not total, but near total darkness. So he used that light to illuminate his way around in the darkness to find us. He travels the world, he searches the world, and he finally finds us here. See? You said, well, that shouldn't have been difficult, right? I mean, everybody didn't know we was here. Everybody didn't know this condition we were in. This was like in the 1800s. This was, this was fresh out of so-called slavery. We had people in different stages of back captivity all over the world and Australia and everything else. But it wasn't the seed of Abraham. But he had defined the Pacific, right? Us, the seed of Abraham. That's what we're looking for. Not just people in captivity, not people being exploited, right? Not people being enslaved, but Abraham, but the seed of Abraham. That's what he was looking for, and he found us here. And when he found us, it was in such bad condition. It was like he did. He said he wept. He just wept. He was overwhelmed. He wept uncontrollably when he saw us. Because we was in such bad condition. We're still in bad condition now. But he came and hit that little light. So then he impregnated this nation. He started the womb process. See? Because this was time, it It was near time to give birth. But before you give birth, you have to impregnate the nation, right? And then you got the womb process, and then you have the birth. So he impregnated. That's what it talks about when it's because he's David. He's the one that with Bathsheba. So he came and impregnated Bathsheba, and she gave him a son, Suleiman. And you need to pay close attention because I'm gonna connect some things together that you never heard before. Like I said, we can go into angel. I can go into angel very deep. But what's the point? Because if you don't understand it on the ABC level, then why am I going to XYZ level? You understand? So he impregnates, he starts that process, right? He impregnates the nation, starting to womb process. It says part of that would be it would give him a son, Suleiman or Solomon, because he's David. Okay, so then he sets up Elijah. He lifts up a messenger to pass that light to. To pass that light to, because he couldn't stay. He had to leave. He had to go prepare a place for us, but he had to leave that light, right? See? For that womb that he just impregnated. So he raised up Elijah. And Elijah took and raised up the Levites. That's what you call the NOI, FOI, MGT. That's the Levites. They are not the seed of Abraham. They're a priest tribe, right? That's grafted into amongst our tribes, but they're the silver. They're not the gold. They're the African nations, right, that submitted to Master Farad Muhammad, submitted to Dr. Shabazz. So he passed that light on to him. Now they were supposed to guard the womb because when you have the womb, remember you have to. The womb is a special place. It's very dark. It's very secure, very secluded because it's protect the child that's growing in it from any outside influence, so it can focus totally on its development. Otherwise, it will come forth deformed. So it focus totally on its development, hands, arms, everything, totally on that. That's what the womb is. It stays there till it's completely developed. And once it's completely developed, then it comes forth. But the womb is protected, so it's totally focused on that, nothing else. And that's what the Levites or Nation of Islam, they were supposed to be there to protect us in the womb and to provide guidance because I'm not going to lie detail here, but I spoke about it earlier. The purpose of the egg, part of the purpose of the egg, it has many purposes, but one of the main purposes of the egg, right? Because it has the mother's nature, her experience, everything built in, because it's a cell of her, is to give information to the sperm on what the world outside the womb is like, so it can prepare for that. Because as development, has developed in a way that's preparing it for the life outside the womb, because that's what's ultimately going to be. So in it's taken in its process of development, that's part of the consideration is I'm developing myself, right? But I need to develop myself in such a way that I'm prepared for how life is outside the womb, and he gets that information from the egg. So a messenger and a prophet serve that same purpose. That's why the nation is in the process of in the womb. A messenger or prophet is sent, right? And their purpose is to prophesy. In other words, give the people in the womb information about how they should be, what they should be doing, how they should be growing, how they should be preparing themselves for life outside the womb. To give information about the womb, what it's like, so they can prepare for it, so they can form themselves properly and in sync with what life will be outside the womb. Because if they don't prepare them, then they're born stillborn, because when they come outside, they're not prepared for life outside the womb, right? And in many cases, they're just stillborn. Because when they come in contact with life outside the womb, they're not ready. They're totally out of sync with it. And so they cannot survive. And that's one of the reasons for being stillborn. That's what a prophet and messenger is supposed to do. It's their job. To prepare you, to give you information. That's why it prophesies and telling you what to expect, right? And how you should be conducting yourselves, and so forth and so on. Preparing you for life outside the womb. They serve the same purpose as the egg. And that's what Elijah was supposed to be doing with the Levites. And they was doing that job for 40 some years. Okay? And then Elijah departed. We're going to spend a little time on that piece right there. Elijah departed, and when he departed, he opened the door for the demons, the chief demon. And they came in, and then there was a war in the womb because they started attacking, because we were not protected in the womb anymore. The Nation of Islam, the Levites, they weren't protecting us, so now the demons came and they was attacking us, full attack. But we're going to talk about chapter 12 in a minute. From a different angle that you have not heard before. Chapter 12 of Revelations. Now, when you examine it closely, it says that there was this woman, and she was tormented to give birth. But she gave birth. And if you read it closely, it's two. She had a son, and she also had a child, a male child, and also a son. I may have it mixed up, but it was two. When you read it carefully, it's actually two. You think it's one is actually two, but you think they're talking the same. No, they're talking about two different things. But that's not important right now. Anyway, she gave birth. It says the dragon stood by to devour the child as soon as it was born. The dragon stood by to devour the child as soon as it was born. Now, what are you talking about? The dragon stood by to devour the child as soon as it was born. There's a couple of ways to look at that, but if you look at other scriptures where he talks about, because Master Prophet Muhammad said he was born in Mecca, and that's the lair of the dragon. From one point of view, you could refer it to him, but that's not what it's talking about here. So when you study, oftentimes, right, these things have point. It depends on if you look at the sealed Bible, unsealed, whatever, right? You can look at it from different perspectives. But this perspective is talking about a specific thing. So watch it, listen very carefully on this one. Now, what's going on here? It says, the woman gave birth, and the dragon stood by to devour the child as soon as it was born. And then the dragon went after the woman, and the woman fled into the wilderness. She fled into the wilderness. Now, we understand, those of you who have been studying the angel, is that's the falling away. That's the falling away when the woman fled into the wilderness. That's the falling away. It says, let's get back to Thessalonians when it says, be not deceived, right? The falling away will take place first, and then the man of sin will be revealed. See, Farrakhan tried to blow it around the other way. He says, no, the man of sin is being revealed because he claimed the man of sin is a singular person, but he says, oh, that's all the Jews. Now he's revealing them. Now people are falling away from them, which is total bullshit. But his covenant is asked because he's the son of perdition. It says the falling away occurred first, and then he would be revealed. And that's what happened. After Elijah Muhammad departed, then there was a falling away because John was beheaded. There was no one running the Nation of Islam, so it just fell away. There was no one running the Nation of Islam. They got rid of it. There was no leader. So it just fell away. There was no one controlling it anymore. It was beheaded. So it fell away. And then after it fell away, along come Farrakhan 2 or 3 years later to finish it off. And look at this very carefully, because I never really talked about this before. Because you got to look at the time frame here. See, because the child is born just before the falling away. Just before the falling away. That means this child had to be born just before 1975 when Elijah Muhammad left. This child had to be born just, if you understand, that's the falling away. The child had to be born just before, right? Before Elijah Muhammad left, because she gave birth and then the falling away came. Who is this child? See? And that's the child it was caught up. It says the dragon was there to devour it, but he wasn't able to get it because the child was snatched away from him. Or the dragon could get him and lift it up. You see, he become great. That's another story, right? He was lifted up to the throne instead of God. That's another story altogether. I don't know if I'm going to deal with that. But listen carefully again. Just before Elijah Muhammad departs, just before the falling away, the child is born, and then the falling away means Elijah departed, and then the falling away that occurred. That means this child was born just before 1975. That's when the falling away occurred. That gets back to the light. Because when you study the story about John the Baptist, remember, he was the one that beheaded. See? That means Elijah Muhammad was taken away and Nation of Islam was beheaded. But read that story carefully. See, he was baptizing people. That means to baptize and initiate. He was initiating people into Islam. He was out there baptizing. Because it said he would baptize with water, but the one that coming after him, see, he said one that be coming after him would baptize with fire. He was out there baptizing, and then who walks up? Jesus or Joshua walks up on him and said, hey, oh, I can't baptize you. I'm not worthy to baptize you. I can't initiate you in this. I can't work. I'm not. See, that was John's reaction. I can't do that. And Jesus said, no, you have to. You have to. I want you to. You have to baptize me. You see? And then after he baptized him, shortly after, that's when the beheading happened. You see? And the falling away. Same story. So what's going on here? That means God, Master from Muhammad, passed the light on to Elijah. And Elijah passed the light on to Suleiman. Remember, he's the son that Master from Muhammad, right? Because he impregnated the nation and says he also, and one result of that, it produced a son, Solomon. So he passed the light on to Elijah, and Elijah passed the light on to Suleiman. But that's why he said, no, you have to baptize me. You have to pass the light on to me. And this goes into, it says, it be someone, because Elijah Muhammad used to say it all the time, and all the ministers, be careful what you say, who you saying it to, because, right, Allah is amongst you. He is with you. He's amongst you. Elijah Muhammad said in his book, he said, the least of one of his followers will become greater than all in the earth. See? So he did say someone would follow him. So that's what he's talking about. The light was passed on to Suleiman, because he would come to Elijah's temple simply while Elijah was around. See? And the light was passed on to him. See, the same light passed on from Prophet Muhammad to Elijah. Elijah passed on to Suleiman. That it was a small light, but it was bright. He passed on to him. That's what that's talking about. So he carried that light. See? So he was the only, because let me back up here again. And it says the dragon was there to devour him as soon as he was born. Now think about that. Now who is the dragon? Those of you studying angel, you know who the dragon is. That's Sunnism. It says the dragon was there to devour the child as soon as he was born. So what happened? As soon as Elijah departed and the falling away came, what happened? Wallace and Farrakhan teaching Sunnism. They tried to get him in Sunnism. But it says the dragon failed because he was snatched away before the dragon could get him. I mean, they was trying to get him with Sunnism. That's what the dragon means. The dragon tried to devour him as soon as he was born. See? So in other words, as once Elijah passed that light on, Elijah left. They was trying to devour him with Sunnism. And that's exactly what happened. They took and tried to get him with Sunnism. They tried to convert everyone to Sunnism, and the process get him too. So the dragon was there to devour, and so the dragon wasn't able to do it. So he was angry, and he went to make war with the rest. So in other words, it made war with the Levites and converted all of them to Sunnism, right? But you understand, that's what that's talking about. They tried to get him with Sunnism. The dragon tried to get him, but they wasn't able. So he carried that light on. See? So now we have intense darkness, but the light is still there. See, the light was passed on to Suleiman. So he has the light. He's still holding his post. He has the light. Like I said, it's a little light, but it's bright. So he's carrying that light all by himself in total darkness, because the personification, it means the devils, they've set their children, the demons, into the womb, and they've told they put out the light of Elijah in the while. They put that light out. They put that light out. The only light was left was that one that Elijah had baptized, Suleiman. He's the only one he carried the light. But the light was put out every place else. It was just put out. After the demons, they put the light out every place else. So it was total darkness except for that one little bright light. And then time went on, and then that bright light, that little light, right, got some fuel. That means the angel. And that light became 7 times brighter than it was before. Then it became very bright. Because it got some fuel. It became very bright. That little light, it became very bright. And light it up. It started lighting up the womb. So people could start seeing their way around, start preparing themselves properly. And that's a start at 144,000. Because now they had some light. Now they wasn't walking around darkness. Right? And so they had enough light to start seeing how to prepare themselves for exit out of the womb. But the demons also detected the light, because see, the devils, they all in darkness. They're all about darkness. But the demons, they half dark, half light, see, because they're half man, half devil. They detected light, and they went after it. They went after it. You see. It says they would go after the elect, right? To deceive the elect. If it were possible, they couldn't get to them. But they got to most of the people with their darkness and their deception, pulling them back into darkness. And the only one standing against them is Suleiman with that 7 times brighter light. You understand, brothers and sisters? That's the war inside the womb between that light and the darkness, and our people in the middle, struggling. And Suleiman, he's walking, and he has no one to pass that light on to help with that light. And he stopped a few seconds to maybe get a couple of people right to share that light with them. But it was all in vain. So he walked alone. But he's in there with that bright light, 7 times bright. And he's at war with the demons. They recognize him. And they're at war with him. They attacked him recently. Because they're all about extinguishing that light. Because they want to abort this nation in the womb. That Master Muhammad impregnated, and that Elijah Muhammad nourished for 40-some years. Right? And now it's in the hands of Suleiman. They're trying to abort that nation in the womb before it can even be given birth. And that's what's happening. So now you can read chapter 12 and understand a little better. That's what it means by the dragon was to devour him as soon as he was born, trying to put him into Sunnism. So now you got the Sunnis got the dragon inside the womb. You got the devils inside the womb. You got the demons inside the womb. Mostly demons, not so many devils, but the demons inside the womb. And you got the Sunnis inside the womb attacking from different angles. The Sunnis, the dragons, they try to devour you with their Sunnism into room. Oh no, come in Sunnism. And the demons, right? They're just trying to take your vision away. You're not going anywhere. You don't have any choice. America's your only choice. They're trying to get you back into masses vision. Any way to destroy you while you're still in the womb, because that's their plan, destroy you in the womb. They're not self for stillborn. They want to abort you while you're still in the womb, so you will not come forth as a nation. Do you understand, brothers and sisters? That's the light. Now it's 7 times brighter than it was when Master Muhammad passed it on to Elijah. That's the angel. That's the angel. You see. And that's the war, the womb war. That light. Because you cannot extinguish the light of Allah anyway, it tells you. They try to put out the light of Allah with their mouths. Allah protect his light. So you can, they came very close to extinguishing it 35,000 years ago. And in this process for the last 35,000 years, it came close to extinguish it, but you can't distinguish because that means you destroy all life together. You can't distinguish it, but they came very close to it because that's the problem of energy deprivation. They came very close to extinguishing that light. But now the light's been passed on to Suleiman, right? And now it's 7 times brighter than it ever was. And then it gets brighter. It's growing in brightness until it will take, because the world's in darkness and the world's become the personification of darkness, because that's religion. All these religions, people, they become the personification of darkness. You understand that? I explained to you the personification process. So the whole world has become, because all this time has passed and everything, the whole world has become the personification of darkness. The whole world's become devils and demons, because what's a demon? A demon is half devil, half man. So you have Chinese demons, you have Indian demons, you have Mexican, you have demons all over. You got the world is roaming, right? The world is covered with demons and devils. They're roaming all over the planet, and they're the personification of darkness. It's not just them, but even the people that's left. That's not even demons or devils. They become this, they're from some kind of darkness because they've been in darkness so long, right? They become the quasi personification of darkness. That means they're stuck in darkness. They cannot come out of it. They've been in so long, they cannot come out of it. So you got the whole world, 8 billion in total darkness, the personification of darkness at some level. The personification of darkness at some level, one or other. The whole 8 billion. And light destroys darkness. That's why it says that light, right? Because that light would what? That light would be it would be passed, right? It would be passed on into the 144,000. They would receive that light. So they would glow from that light. So that light would increase 144,000 fold. That's how bright it would be. It would not just be Suleiman with that bright 7 times brighter, but now you got 144,000 bright lights that he's incorporated, that he's instilled that light into. So now it's 144,000 times brighter than it ever was. And light dispels darkness. So it's so much light that darkness is blown away. That's the stone that will destroy all the nations, because the light be so bright, it's going, because everything else is personification of darkness. That light is so bright that it's just, there's no, it gets rid of all the darkness. There's no darkness left, none. And that occurs once The nation gives birth. See, 140,000. That's the birth. That's the. I mean, they're the main part of the birth. It's other births also, but most are not ready. That's why I said you got some fleeing and all other kinds of things because they're giving birth too. But the point is they weren't ready. See, they wasn't paying attention. They wasn't ready. I'm not blaming most of them because some of it's not a process of not paying attention. They never heard it because the demons were blocking it. And you also got these vipers and everything who turned away. They're blocking it. So people never hear it. Then you got the people that come in, they get the information, but they ain't passing it on. So people are not hearing it. So they don't know how to prepare for life outside the womb. So they're not prepared. So when it happens, now they got to feed. They got to do all these different things. And those people have to, most of them that can be salvaged, they have to be put back in the incubator. That's called a tribulation because they weren't ready for life outside the womb. So they have to be protected put in an incubator, right? To protect this. It's like a womb, right? So they complete their development. So some of them is because of their own fault. Some of them just, right? A lot of them is because they just never hear it. Because only soon was walking alone, and then you had some people that had knowledge, and then they didn't refuse to give it. But they, for whatever reason, or they were agents or whatever they were. That's why I say our people are lost for lack of knowledge, not for lack of food, see? Not for lack of money, lack of knowledge. Because they didn't know how to prepare themselves for life outside the womb. And so when they came forth, they wasn't prepared. They was out of sync. And a lot of them end up stillborn. And those that survived, right, they had to be snatched and thrown into the incubator, right? And during the incubator, that's where the Levites again, now they're on their job because while they're in incubator, the Levites had to protect them, which they should have been doing Farrakhan's rule. Now they protect them because they all going through tribulation together. But they had to protect them while they're in the incubator during tribulation, so they could finish their development. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. I'm trying to make it very clear to you. You understand what's going on. So go and talk to Silas. He's having so-called savior. They preach on. Ask him what's going on. That's what's happening right now. Ask him to explain any of this stuff. Ask him to explain what's going to happen in the future. Ask him to explain who this dragon is. Ask him to explain chapter 12. Ask him to explain who the beasts are. Ask him to explain who the serpent are. Ask him to explain who the demons are. Ask him any of this stuff. Because that's why they call it revelation, because it reveals everything. And when you come here, everything is revealed. There's no secrets. There's nothing hiding any rocks anywhere. Everything is totally revealed, clear, so you understand. And you're not going to get this anywhere else, nowhere, not even close. So those whose eyes are open or semi-open, they have no excuse because it's very clear. It's very, like I said, the Quran says the truth is very clear from error, very distinct. And this is totally different from anything that's out there. It's not even close. There's not even any competition whatsoever. That's why they don't come and debate me anything because they'll be destroyed right away. Because I throw a little light on them, and it's like we threw water on those fiery angels. Poof, gone. Because they can't withstand the light. That's why they don't come near me. They don't come to me arguing or debating. But they try to attack me. They try to put the light out. See? But they don't come and try to deal with the light, they debate the light. You know, they don't do that. They don't get in the ring with the light. They just try to put it out. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. So, in a few more days, the water was going to break. That's what it tells you when Master Muhammad, right? What would they call him? Michael. When he goes to war with the dragon, Sunnism, right? And Gog and Magog, America, Britain, and false Israel. That's when the water breaks. And when the water breaks, at that point in time, the birth is about to take place. But when the water breaks, That's when Suleiman takes, and he takes and separates the demons from the saints or the Levites. He separates them out, the demons out, right? Away from our people. He separates them out from the, he separates them out. And he exposes them and expels them. See? At that point, he has to take and pass light on to the Levites, because remember, they're responsible now to protect the seed of Abraham, those who put an incubator during the tribulation period. So you have to prepare them for that. We're still in the womb now. But now the demons are cast out of the womb. See, when the water breaks, the demons are cast out of the womb. They're cast out. But then Suleiman can concentrate on passing light on to illuminating the Levites, prepare them. That's what we're talking about. Ancient of Days did set. The thrones are cast down. They get threw out the demons, threw out all of them. They're outside, and so-called Native Islam, they're gone. They're exposed. They're expelled. So now he can pass light on. He can illuminate the NOI to prepare them, right, to do their job to protect those seed of Abraham who didn't make the first cut. They wasn't delivered, but they was put in incubator to complete the process, complete their process. See, their preparation for life outside the womb, because they're outside the womb now. But the incubator is like a second womb. They're put in there, right, to complete their development. And so if they survive that, then they're allowed to go into the hereafter. That's a tribulation period. And during that period, it says the Levites, they will be responsible to protect those in the incubator. That's their job. Now the demons are gone. And this occurs when the water breaks. And then the birth comes. The birth comes what? Because when the war starts, that's when the water breaks. When the war starts, that's when the water breaks. But when the war ends in victory, when God and Magog cast down and abomination desolation is taken down, falls Israel, that's when the birth takes place. That's the time of Armageddon, the wartime unprecedented trouble. The birth takes place then, and it says 145,000. They was totally ready because they came forth a great army. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Hope I made it clear. Hope I made it clear. But those in incubator, they got to go through tribulation. It's a terrible time. But that's how they had to complete their development under fire. The 145,000, they're delivered. See? They're on the fortress. See? Preparing for war. Because now they delivered. They're on the fortress. They're not here anymore. Watching, protecting the ark. They're over there with the Shia, right? They're over there. They're over there. And now they're delivered over there. And like it says, God says, here, Joshua, here's your promise, and now take it. So now they're there. Now they have to take it back from Ishmael. So it'll be a war with the dragon. To take our land back from them that they took from us 50,000 years ago. So 145,000 delivered, and that's what they're doing in this time. In the time of tribulation, that's what they're doing. But tribulation over here, right, that's an attack. But they're going to be attacked. All black people will be attacked. All black people will be attacked. During tribulation, not just the saints, not just those in incubator. Right? The demons are going to be the Africans. They're all going to be under attack during that period of time. That's the tribulation. See? But you're going to take the demons. They're going to try to negotiate with Their daddies. Oh, come on, daddies. I mean, come on, we can work something out. Daddy don't want them. He don't want them. This during tribulation, he don't want them. And when they realize that, right, then they're gonna go to war against daddy. That's the story of Samson. They'll go to war against daddy. That's the locust plague, 5 months locust plague. Where they're gonna tear this country literally apart. You can have 17 million demons tearing this country apart. 17 million demons tearing this country apart. And this country cannot this country cannot handle that, because during this time, right, they're at war with Russia and Europe. The Armageddon starts in Europe, and they start fighting with each other as the cross says. When some of them surge against us, they start fighting with each other. And because they're fighting with each other, the European nations become weakened. That means the superpower status is transferred from them to China and India. So they become the superpowers while Europeans are tearing themselves apart. And China and India sitting back watching, laughing. And so is so-called non-Islamic Africa. And so once they're weakened enough, because you see, they're talking about they're going to war with Russia. They are going to war with Russia, but the chain of events, you have to understand. They also say they're going to war with Iran. They also say they're going to war with China. They're going to war with all three. But the chain of events, you don't know the chain of events. I'm just explaining to you, the war with Iran will be first. That's the trigger, right? That ignites the rest of it. And once that victory kicks off Armageddon, and that's when they go to war with Russia. And now when they're going to run with Russia, there's a NATO, like I told you years ago, NATO is going to turn against it. Now we see right now you have division in NATO you never seen before. It's between Germany, the most powerful member of NATO. There's differences between, right, that they never had for disagreements. They never had visible disagreements in NATO. Now they're having it. Some say, I'm not going to cooperate in whatever. I told you NATO is going to turn against America for all kinds of reasons, right? Economic reason whatsoever. But they're going to work with Russia against America. So Americans will be over there and Europe getting their ass torn apart. And so will Britain. The war that's going to take place over there is going to be 10 times worse than the war of World War II. That's what's going to be going on. And because that war is so intense, right? And they're so concentrated on fighting each other that China and India emerge as a new superpower sitting on the sidelines. They're the world powers now. Because remember, America is destroying itself, destroying its army, destroying its air force, is destroying its navy. That's war. So when they come out of this, well, they're not coming out of it, but in the process, right, their power diminishes, their military power diminishes. They're destroying themselves, they're destroying their own equipment and everything. Plus, their soldiers, they're dying by the tens of thousands. And you got China and India sitting back there with a 10 million man army. And they building all their military, their planes, their ships and everything else. So now the power shifts over to them. They the superpowers now. And so when they see Europe sufficiently weakened, then they make their move. That's the goat. Then they come and attack on the West Coast. They come in. They take out Britain first. Britain is the first one to take out. They blow Britain away. China blows Britain away. Britain's first to be taken out. Then they come after America. It's during the tribulation. And our people are under attack. Remember, this gets back to Exodus. Our people are under attack. And they're told to move because they was given instructions by Suleiman. Move all you can, all your people that you can get together, move them to the West Coast because that's where you'll be delivered at. That's what they're doing. They're being chased because you have the demons 17 million tearing this country apart. So they're attacking them because remember, you got the National Guard and everything. They're fighting over there, but also they have total conflict here, worse than civil war here in America. So they're fighting on all fronts. They're trying to quell the to quell the trouble here, first of all, they had the 5 months war with the demons, which is terrible. They're trying to quell that. Right? And then they're trying to take out all blacks, and then they're chasing the Levites who have the rest of us in the incubators. They're chasing after them because Pharaoh's army will be chasing after them because they realize they're part of the Abrahamic covenant, and they're chasing them. They don't want them to get away. And they're chasing them all the way to the West Coast. And they're fighting through famine and hunger because that's what's happening here during the tribulation period. It's going to be a period you're not going to have television. You're not going to have heat. It's going to be cold weather, right? And it's going to be starvation. You already said starvation. I mean, all these things are already coming into place. Many stores don't have any food on it. You see, it says that you see the clouds gathering. All this stuff I'm telling you right now is already coming into place, coming into focus. It just haven't got to the focus, total focus yet. So it's not going to be any food. There's going to be starvation. Even then, all this because if the demons are attacking America like that, there's not going to be no distribution. There's not going to be no stores for food because how the trucks and stuff going to move around everything when America's in total chaos? And you got 17 million blacks, right, who's disenchanted because the devil made the mistake of letting them know he don't want them. So now they turn. In addition, they also will try. Those of us that's not part of that, they will try to capture. They want to use you to help them in their fight, their war. We're not going to help them in their war. They throw them into the river. That's another story. I'm not going to go into detail about that. They're chasing them. Because first they will let them go, then they chase them. And it says when they chase them, they get all the way to the ocean. And they said, okay, we're between a rock and a hard place because Pharaoh's army is behind us, and all we see is ocean in front of us. But who's the ocean? That's going to be China and India because they're Navy, because they're on the West Coast at that point. So they're in front of them, and Pharaoh's army behind them. What are we going to do? But see, they don't understand that Master Muhammad is the one that's guiding the goat. It tells you in chapter 17, he's the one that inspired them to take out the harlot. I'm not going into all the details, but he tells them to, right? You have to understand the angel for this. He tells them to separate, allow the Levites and those incubated through. So they let them pass. And once they let them pass, then they converge on Pharaoh's army and wipe them out. So now they wipe out Pharaoh's army. America has no military to protect them whatsoever. And then China and India lay siege to America. America's already hungry and starving. And so they lay siege. And they like it. They enjoy it. Because they sit around and lay siege and siege and everything. Just said, watch you starve. They said people are going to eat their own children. Children would flee from their parents because they know they'll be eaten. They have children gangs running around. Say children be gray-headed. That's like they happened in World War II. Children be gray-headed because they can't be around their parents. They know they're eating. They got to be careful with each other because you got child gangs, cannibal gangs. If they can't find their own one to eat, they'll turn on the weakest ones in the gang. See? And they're hungry. They don't know what to do. And it's freezing. And they're turning gray-headed because children never have been under that kind of pressure. People are starving, and they don't want your white flag to give up because they're going to enjoy starving you to death. And once they're satisfied with all the pain they can inflict upon you, then they're just going to destroy America, just destroy it. They're going to take anybody that might be healthy, the young people that might have some health, anything left. They're going to take them in an eternal captivity, and they're just going to wipe out America totally. Won't be nothing left here, nothing. So Farrakhan, those 6 states you're talking about, you got some special immunity. They're going to wipe out everything. America, they said America would not be inhabited for thousands of years. They're just going to wipe it out clean. There will be nothing left. That's Damascus will be turned into a heap overnight. They're just going to destroy it. And after America's gone and Britain is already gone, Gog and Magog is gone, Then there'll be some other conflicts going on between them, between Hades, serpent, and death, China, India, and non-Islamic Africa. They'll have some conflicts, but they're going to come together. And then that's the final. It says, these 10 kings will make war against the Lamb. So the Lamb is the general on the ground. Why we Exodus, Ra is the God up in the skies. He's the Air Force is protecting them. These 10 kings, they will make, that's the final battle in chapter 20, the final battle. When they will attack us, that's the final battle. It says the Lamb will defeat them with his 144,000 army. The stone that will crush all the nations, he will defeat them with Master Muhammad's Air Force. See? But he would defeat, he would destroy everything in this reality. He would completely destroy it. And then he get over to his father, and his father, Master Prophet Muhammad, will take and make all things new. Because now all this reality is destroyed. Now he takes the energy from this reality and create a new reality. I'll make all things new. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. I think we're going to leave it there. The light. They can't extinguish the lights. It got passed on, passed on, passed on. And once we get home, it's going to be so bright. It says the light will get brighter and brighter and brighter. The truth will be everywhere. There'll be no religion, none of that stuff, just gone. Like it never existed before. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.